The Stanley Hotel is the focal point of Estes Park, bordering the Rocky Mountain National Park, about 60 miles northwest of Denver, Colorado. Beginning the early 20th century, a steam-powered car inventor and entrepreneur from Maine named Freeland Oscar Stanley was diagnosed with life-threatening tuberculosis. Recommended at the time, Stanley needed to take in what was believed to be the curative dry air of the Rocky Mountains. He decided to relocate with his wife to a remote valley known as Estes Park. As Stanley made a full recovery from TB, he and his wife fell in love with the beauty of the valley and decided to turn it into a resort town. A grand hotel began construction in 1907 as a destination for the friends and associates of F.O. Stanley. The main hotel was completed in 1909, along with a concert hall as a gift for his wife, Flora Stanley. The Middle Manor, now known as the Lodge, was completed in 1910 to accommodate unmarried men as well as children. Ultimately, Stanley had spent more money on the hotel than it made during its short summer seasons. Currently, the Stanley Hotel is a thriving place, drawing in thousands of visitors each year. The main lobby is open to the public and retains its historical appearance. The entrance, lobby, and bar were also featured in the 1994 comedy film Dumb and Dumber. The Lodge features a similar yet smaller and less decorative lobby than the main hotel. The concert hall has held many performances throughout its history, including famous magician Harry Houdini. The stage also features a trap door, and the lower level once housed a two-lane bowling alley. A little further down the hill is the Aspire. It was built in 2016 and features contemporary rooms and more modern amenities. On the other side, the pavilion contains a 250-seat glass-door auditorium and over 8,000 square feet of banquet space overlooking rock formations and a private pond. The new pavilion is becoming a popular location for weddings, receptions, celebrations, and corporate events. The Stanley Hotel is not only known for its grandeur and scenic views, but also for its ghost activity. Multiple paranormal experts and film crews have visited the hotel. including the crew of Ghost Adventures and Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters. Ghost Hunters' lead investigators had some of the most compelling experiences during their investigation, including a glass shattering on a nightstand and doors opening and closing by themselves. The Stanley Hotel embraces its notoriety and paranormal fame by having ghost tours as well as paranormal conferences. The lodge and concert hall have also reported ghost activity. However, the main hotel is more prominent for supernatural occurrences. Guests have continually reported the appearance of ghostly figures on the fourth floor, manifesting as children and possibly former hotel guests. Disembodied voices have been heard and objects sometimes move on their own. Over the years, it is also believed that there are entities that travel through the original underground tunnels of the hotel. In 1911, an explosion in room 217 sent chambermaid Elizabeth Wilson through the floor with 2 broken ankles and severe burns. She survived, but many believe she still haunts the halls and rearranges personal items and luggage in various rooms. Room 217 still remains the Stanley's most requested accommodation for another reason. In 1974, Stephen King and his wife visited the property and found themselves to be the only guests at the hotel prior to its winter closure. They were living in Boulder at the time, and King was trying to complete his first novel, Carrie. Perhaps it was the isolation, or the haunting tales of the accident that spooked King. But after spending only one night in room 217, and having vivid nightmares of his small son being chased through the halls of the hotel by a fire hose, he checked out with frightful inspiration. According to King himself, after waking from his nightmare, he sat on this balcony overlooking the Rockies, and by the time his cigarette was done, he had the outline of his next book firmly set in his mind. The Shining became one of the early great successes in King's career. As King's third published novel, it was his first hardback bestseller and spawned a less faithful, however iconic movie adaptation directed by Stanley Kubrick in 1980. In 2015, a maze was also established in front of the hotel. Its creation was inspired by the Kubrick film since a maze was not featured in the original novel. The Stanley Hotel was not only the inspiration for The Shining, but also another popular Stephen King novel. Near the pavilion is the site of an old pet cemetery that King once visited when walking the hotel grounds. The animal graves would later spark the inspiration for his horror novel Pet Sematary, published 6 years after The Shining. Stephen King eventually became involved in a television adaptation of The Shining in 1997. The creation of a 3-part miniseries was primarily the result of King's dissatisfaction with the portrayal of his characters in the 1980 film. The televised rendition, directed by Mick Garris, utilized the Stanley Hotel's interior and exterior since it had served as the original inspiration. The miniature playhouse that appears in front of the Overlook Hotel can also be seen in the basement of the Stanley. For different reasons, horror enthusiasts, ghost seekers, and visitors from all over the world flock to see the Stanley Hotel. And if the tales of spirits are to be believed, it is likely that the Stanley will be forever occupied by both the dead and living.
Come and play with us forever. Here's Johnny.